Imagine losing everything in a single night. Your home, your job, your country, and then running with just one hope: safety. Now imagine being stuck for decades with no rights, no dignity, and no future. This is the harsh reality for thousands of refugees in India today. Intro. India has a long history of giving shelter to people in need. From Parsis to Bangladeshis, Tibetans to Sri Lankans, India has opened its doors to the persecuted. But here's the problem. India has no official refugee law. And that's why refugees from different countries are treated very differently. Let's understand India's refugee crisis and why we need a fair and humane policy. Who is a refugee? According to the 1951 UN Refugee Convention, a refugee is someone who is outside their country of origin and has a real fear of being persecuted because of their race, religion, nationality, political views, or identity. Most importantly, no one chooses to be a refugee. They flee only to survive. But guess what? India is not a signatory to this 1951 convention. That means we're not legally bound to follow it. Recent incidents. Recently, the Supreme Court of India said, India is not a dharamshala, free shelter, for all refugees. This was during a case involving a UAPA convict who wanted to stay in India. Also in Sri Lanka, a refugee who returned from India was detained despite UNHCR's help. Clearly, refugees live in a very precarious position, even after decades of staying in India. Tibetans versus Sri Lankan refugees. Let's compare two major refugee groups in India. Tibetan refugees, around 63,000 Sri Lankan Tamil refugees, around 90,000 in Tamil Nadu. But the way India treats them is very different. Tibetans get better support, encouraged to integrate. Protected under Tibetan Rehabilitation Policy, TRP 2014. Can access MGNREGA, private jobs, higher education, and skill training. Sri Lankans live in temporary camps. Policy pushes for repatriation, going back to Sri Lanka. No structured policy like TRP face legal confusion and discrimination. Problems faced by Sri Lankan refugees. Despite being larger in number, Sri Lankan refugees suffer more. Only 5% of 500 engineering graduates get jobs. They face discrimination due to the refugee label. Most live in camps for over 40 years. This leads to loss of identity, no self-respect, and deep frustration, as Sadako Ogata once said. Even a refugee has the right to dignity. But for many in India, that dignity is missing. What are the possible solutions? The world follows three major solutions for refugees. 1. Voluntary repatriation. Go back to their country when it's safe. 2. Local integration. Settle and build life in the host country. 3. Third country resettlement. Move to another country. In India's case, local integration is the most practical path. So who needs to be involved? India, Sri Lanka, UNHCR, Tamil Nadu government, and local communities. India's refugee legacy. India has a great tradition of giving shelter. Parsis came centuries ago from Iran. Over 10 million Bangladeshis fled to India in 1971. Tibetans fled from China in 1959. Afghan, Rohingya, and Myanmar refugees also live in India. This reflects India's Atithi Devo Bhava culture, guest is God, and this generosity has boosted India's global image and soft power. But all this goodwill is at risk because of inconsistency and confusion in our refugee policy. Global context. Let's not forget, the refugee crisis is a global problem. Syria. Millions displaced due to civil war. Rohingyas. Stateless and persecuted. UN says. Millions are displaced worldwide, so India cannot turn away. It must lead by example. What should India do? India urgently needs a rights-based, inclusive refugee policy. Start with the Sri Lankan Refugee Policy 2024, modeled on TRP 2014. This should include legal clarity, clear rights and work permits, economic access, jobs, education, and skill training, social integration, language, culture, and community support, digital ID verification to prevent misuse, biometrics and tracking, not detention and exclusion. This will not only protect refugees but also help India avoid social tension and political misuse. Conclusion. India's heart has always been in the right place. But now it's time for our laws and policies to catch up. A refugee is not a burden. They are people, just like you and me, looking for safety, dignity, and hope. Let's make sure India remains a beacon of compassion, not confusion. If you believe India needs a fair refugee policy, like this video, share it, and subscribe for more stories that matter.